right, fantastic. Well, hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Julie Lego. I'm thrilled to welcome you to the last event for now of our Revive and Thrive series through Able New Hampshire's Mental Health Task Force. We're going to be recording tonight for anybody who that may not have been able to make it in person. We know this is a tough time of night. We want to make sure this is accessible to the community. So, Revive and Thrive is a series that we've put together to support the New Hampshire community or possibly those outside of New Hampshire as well during these times of uncertainty. So, the Mental Health Task Force came together and we had some lofty goals. Some of our goals were to do a mental health symposium and really focus on making sure that there was education about the mental health needs for people with intellectual disabilities and their caregivers. We were looking really broadly and we said, wow, we can do this. And then we hit a lot of uncertainty. And we said, is that really what the need is right now? Or is the need right in front of us? And to call out exactly what's going on and to say, we don't really know what's going on. And it's hard. And to give specific forums with different topics to talk about how to take care of ourselves and take care of our mental health during these times of uncertainty. So, this is actually the fifth event in our series. And we're excited to welcome different community members today to share about the mental health resources or various resources in our community that can support our neighbors with their mental health. Um, just to get started, I will start with my introduction and then I'll kind of pass it on. And if it's okay, I'd love to go around and have everybody introduce themselves. And if you'd like to share what brought you here tonight, some of you are panel members, others may not be. But again, my name is Julie Lego. I help run the Mental Health Task Force. I am first and foremost a family member and loved one of many folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I'm a licensed social worker by trade and the founder of Connections Always and Bookends Therapy. And in my full-time role, I am the executive director at the National Center for START Services at the Institute on Disability, UNH. Um, I will go ahead and pass it to Mindy.
Thank you. Thank you for such a nice, welcoming introduction, Julie. And it's nice to meet you. And my gosh, it's nice to meet everyone else, all of us who have shared interests and shared goals. It's nice to be here. My name is Mindy Asbury, and I'm the Chief Medical Officer at Monadnock Family Services. And I'm currently serving as the Interim Chief Executive Officer there also. I'm here today on behalf of Monadnock Family Services, but more globally speaking, on behalf of New Hampshire Community Behavioral Health Association. So I represent the 10 community mental health centers. Some of them are now referred to as community behavioral health centers that make up the state system in New Hampshire. So happy to be here, happy to be able to answer any questions that anybody may have. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mindy. And we will get to the point where our panelists will be able to share more about their organizations and the work they do and the impact that they can have on supporting our community with mental health needs, as well as any other resources they have. Thank you so much, Mindy. DJ.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Julie, again for having us all together. My name's DJ Ayotte. I'm actually a personal trainer and a high school cross country and track and field coach. And I actually work with a lot of individuals that you all work with. Having spent the last decade in fitness, I've found that to be a really safe space and a great resource for people in this community.
Thanks, DJ. Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I live in Nashua. I go to Greater Nashua Mental Health Center. I had to call the state and complain about them because they have very poor communication skills. And I think they should have better communication skills. And let's see what else. I'm glad that you're a personal trainer. I have one through my mental health center. His name is Dave. But I said to Dave, I want a female personal trainer, so I'm going to be working with Riley starting not this week, but next week. And if there's a service out there that I can get at my mental health center, I say sign me up, put me on a wait list. So I'm still waiting for a functional sports specialist. That was one of the other things I complained about to the state, like, hey, I don't have a functional support specialist because I used to have a mental health case manager, but she decided to quit, and now I have a different one, and I seem to like the new one better. But then she says to me, your treatment plan is all set until February, and then she calls me up this morning and says, guess what? It needs to be done today. It's not good until February, so that's part of my story. I'll give you more of my story later, though, when Julie lets.
Thank you, Kelly. Gail.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for doing this and having me. So I'm Gail Hoisington. I live in Merrimack. I just started working with someone who's planning to probably run for U.S. Congress to represent New Hampshire, and we're just trying to get involved with communities, hear what's important. So I signed up for the Able NH listserv just recently and saw this event and wanted to join. So that's what brought me here. But before that, this is my first time doing anything like campaign work. So I am an MSW, LICSW. All my work has been in Massachusetts, in terms of clinical social work, and it's been over 6 years since I've done any clinical social work. But love the field still, just need to step away for a bit. And I also have an autistic child, so disability justice and supports mean a lot to me.
We're glad you're here. Thanks, Gail. Suzanne.
Thank you, Julie, as ever, just for being you and doing all of these things that you do. So, my name is Suzanne Austin. I am coming to you today. I am a member of the task force, although I have not lately been attending. I am a former clinical case manager at a community mental health agency, and I have stepped away from that position. For the time being, although I still remain in the work, I serve on the DD Council, and intend to re-enter the work. I am also the mother of two adult children with developmental disabilities.
Thanks, Suzanne. You've been busy, so we have lives. It's all good. The juggle is real. Um, Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Stedman. I live in the Monadnock region and I've been involved with ABLE New Hampshire for a couple of years now. I've always wanted to attend this task force and in the learning series, and I've been watching them in the aftermath. So if you don't recognize me, it's because I watch them offline recorded, because often I'm not able to make it in the evening hours. I have a son with an intellectual disability. He has Down syndrome. And I do worry about his mental health quite often. So I was really glad when Able decided to put together this task force to address those issues.
Thank you, Lisa. Amma.
Hello, everybody. My name is Amma, and thank you, Julie, for putting this together. So, I have three kids, two who have complex needs and developmental disabilities, and that has led me to what I do professionally. Um, I'm a mental health coach by day, and I'm also the founder of Parent Forge, and we focus on caregivers and parents, giving caregivers and parents transformative mental health coaching, education, and self-efficacy training, just to create a world where parents and caregivers feel empowered, mentally strong, and confident to to step into their power as advocates for their kids. And I'm going to talk more about what we do later. I'm excited to be here. This is awesome.
Wonderful. Angela. And if you're not able to be on yet, that's okay. We can go to somebody else.
Thank you for giving me a minute.
Oh, please
I'm
don't worry.
I'm Angela Fletcher. I'm part of the mental health task force. I have a daughter that has medical complexities and a bunch of disabilities. Um, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
She's also a mental health task force superhero, so she's downplaying it. She is the glue, one of the many pieces of this amazing puzzle. Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth Greeno. I'm sorry I'm late. I am a mom of a child with multiple differences, and I'm here tonight to learn and listen. Thanks for having me. It's been a crazy day.
It's nice to see you back.
Thank
And
you.
Mr. Jenkins. Oh, I'm not sure if Emmanuel, can you hear us? Oh, there you are.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Jenkins, and I am not from New Hampshire, but I like to crash good fun networking opportunities. So you can call me a networking opportunity crasher tonight. But I work for the Delaware Development and Disabilities Council. I also own my own nonprofit serving individuals with disabilities and their families, really heavily involved in mental health with those with IDD. Being a person with IDD myself, I've had the pleasure of serving locally and nationally. So my ears perked up when I heard someone potentially running for office, as I desire to have a seat in Congress in the very, very near future. But I'm delighted to be here. I was trying to be quiet in the background and multitask, but Julie called me to the front of the room, and that is Julie. But again, I'm delighted to be here and look forward to listening and I will try to remain quiet, although I cannot promise that to anyone, given the great work that we all do. Thank you all, and I look forward to this conversation.
We would be disappointed if you were quiet, Emmanuel. And Creighton, would you like to, are you available to introduce yourself on behalf of Abel? And that's okay if she's stepped away. Um, so thank you all for being here. I appreciate these events to get people from all different backgrounds together. We all come for different reasons. The one thing we have in common is mental health. Mental health doesn't discriminate. And it's important that we come together as a group to recognize that when we say mental health does not discriminate, that includes people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and acquired brain disorders. Statistics show that people with intellectual disabilities will experience severe persistent mental illness 3 to 4 times more, they're 3 to 4 times more likely to experience severe persistent mental illness than the neurotypical population. This is why we're here. Now, we have a responsibility to share the resources in our communities because so often we hear a little bit over here and a little bit over here. Oh, that sounds great. That's wonderful. Wow, how nice for you. But how do you get it? How do you access that? I wish I had that person. Well, this is how we fix it. We come together, we have a discussion, we share the resources, and if the resource isn't in your backyard, let's share those tips and tricks of how you might have advocated or who you might have talked to get those resources. So I'd like to just get started with the folks that are joining joining on the panel tonight, and then open it up to everybody because I think everybody comes with resources. So, Mindy, if you wouldn't mind kicking us off and introducing where you're from and what I mean, you told us a little bit about your role, but if you could share a little bit about your organization and a little bit more about the CBHA and the mental health centers in general. I'm sure we'll have plenty of questions for you.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for taking the time to introduce yourselves. And it's nice to meet everybody and all the different stories everyone has. It's exciting to be amongst everyone. So I'll speak on behalf of the New Hampshire Community Behavioral Health Association. So we're 10 organizations, and amongst the 10 of us, we cover all of New Hampshire in terms of providing community mental health to different sections of the state. So there are 5 regions. They're geographically separated. So the region that I'm from is Monadnock region, and we serve the entirety of Cheshire County, Hillsborough County over east to about the cutoff line of Greenville. And then we serve north into a little bit of Sullivan County. And each of the other 9 community mental health centers also have a geographic area that they cover, meaning that if someone lives, for example, in the Monadnock region and they qualify or are in need of mental health services, then that individual can come to Monadnock Family Services to get the care that they need. And each of the geographic locations has a center that is specifically designed to fit the needs of that particular population. In the North Country, so about Littleton, more north, that entire section, that is Northern Human Services, and they provide treatment to both mental illness and also developmental disabilities. Over in the west side of the state, in Sullivan County, right outside of where Dartmouth Health is, that's West Central Community Behavioral Health Center, and they serve that portion. Around the area of all the lakes in the middle of the state, that community mental health center is called Lakes Region. I know, really creative name, but Lakes Region Mental Health. We have an agency to the east of that, and that there's a couple of them over there. One is Manchester, and they serve the greater Manchester area. Riverbend is the service that provides Merrimack County and Concord. Nashua serves most of Hillsborough in the Nashua area. We also have Seacoast, which is near the Portsmouth area on the coast. And we have Center for Life Management, which is in Derry. And then we also have Community Partners, which is in Dover. And so there's a lot of presence for community mental health centers over in the eastern and southern part of the state. But there is a paucity of resources in the northern part of the state and over in the western part of the state. Because of that, we sometimes partner with our other agencies. We refer to them as sister agencies just by convention. So sometimes somebody may go to one agency and that agency may not have services that an individual specifically needs. So we will oftentimes refer over to one of our sister agencies. A prime example of that is individuals who are early in their stages of psychosis or serious mental illness. There are only 3 of us centers that have a early psychosis or first psychosis program. And that is Monadnock Family Services, where I am. It's Centers for Life Management, which is in Derry. And then the third one is in Nashua. So if somebody is in a different area and needs that type of treatment, they may have to go to another CMHC, but we all do resource share in that way. The scope of services we provide are everything from functional support to case management to individual therapy, family therapy, medication management, occupational therapy, physical therapy. DJ, we have an exercise therapy group called In Shape. It's a great program. We also do supported employment, so helping individuals return to competitive levels of employment. We serve ages from 1 month old. I think our oldest client at MFS is 101. So we also serve the spectrum of everybody of every age is available to get services at our community centers. If anybody is searching or in need of services and you don't know who your center is, the website at DHHS has it broken down in this really nice, colorful map. and you can look where your region is, and it will tell you exactly what the center provider in your area is, and it has a phone number that somebody can call to get an intake into that center. Most of us get intakes within 7 days is our goal, and some centers have same day access, meaning you walk in and you get an intake right there on the spot. So we're trying to get all centers to where we can do same day services and intakes. So, and that's what I have, Julie. Maybe that's I think hopefully an overall synopsis that summarizes things to a appropriate level of detail, but not too much detail.
Wonderful. We could probably have you here for a week, so we appreciate we appreciate it. And I'm sure that there will be other questions. Are you able to hang out with us for a little bit?
Oh, absolutely.
Wonderful. And I think that there will be other questions that will kind of come along the way. So that's wonderful. Thank you for the introduction. DJ, would you like to tell us a bit about what you do and the impact that you see in the mental health field or in the impact on people's mental health?
Yep, absolutely. So, as I said before, I'm a personal trainer. So, I work at a private studio called Limitless Fitness in Epping, so the seacoast of New Hampshire. We have clients all from like my youngest is 4 years old, all the way up to 85 years old. All walks of life. We're a private facility, so I see pretty much everybody. I also coach at one of the local high schools in Raymond. So I'm able to see kids pretty much from all ages, and it's really awesome to see different strategies and being that person that they can come to at all ages. Honestly, even like people in my 60s or whatever. Is honestly honest to see them like um, come in and just be able to have a space that they know they're not judged. And I think honestly, our facility and our community that we've built, it's very welcoming. Some commercial gyms are kind of overwhelming for people. And we've worked really hard. This is actually this month celebrates 10 years that we've been in business. So it's been awesome to see. We have a client base of over 200 people. And it's awesome that the impact that we've been able to make. So Mindy, I'm very curious about your In Shape program. That sounds very awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that, but hopefully that gives a little bit of a overlook for you, Julie.
I've heard families that I have that actually are involved with Abel and their children work with DJ and when he does training with them. And I think you actually do training with the family, with the mom too.
Yep.
But just talk about what an impact there is on the connection between physical wellness and confidence.
Yep.
So you really seeing that seeing a shift over time and seeing personality come out and can you speak to that a little
Yep,
bit, DJ?
absolutely. So the individual that Julie's referring to, I actually trained her mom and I've trained his sister and everything like that. So it's honestly a really nice family affair. He's been training with me for about 3 years now. Kind of a little apprehensive when you come into a gym, like I mentioned, but we've been able to develop a great rapport. Meeting him where he is probably the biggest strategy I could say. And you guys can all speak to how you handle that in your clinics and all that. For me, just seeing like relating to them and then providing a reward, like kind of like an incentive. So for the individual I work with, we play card games at the end. So he's able to get through his hour because he knows there was a reward at the end. Um, as we've kind of gone along, his confidence has grown. We allow, like when he first started with me, we did 15-minute sessions. Now he's up to almost a full hour. So he's seeing the benefits. He does his little flex in the mirror, and he's honestly like super pumped to be able to be in there. And he's doing home workouts 4 times a week. He's happy in school. So honestly, seeing that over the last like 4 years has been amazing, and that's truly why I wanted to learn more about this. And Julie mentioned Able, so very happy to hear what you all have to say.
It sounds like it really reinforces the true power of relationship and rapport.
Yep.
So spending that extra time and playing cards, that is what helps helps meet the goals. But those were some of the goals is just spending time, right? Building trust, working towards that, being able to develop a safe space. and now kind of look to see where it's gotten to. So these are really important, really, really important things. And Suzanne was saying therapeutic relationships are so important. There's actually there are statistics out there. One of my previous colleagues, we I think she actually presented on it. And she'll get very mad at me for not being able to cite exactly who it was. But as a clinician, we always say relationship and rapport is 90% of the work. Well, there are actual statistics out there that say that over evidence-based practices, relationship rapport is actually truly 90% of the work. And then we can use evidence-based practices. But if you don't have the relationship and rapport, and actually speak of the devil, the woman that I'm talking about is calling me right now. I kid you not. She will laugh hysterically knowing that I'm talking about her. Um, but relationship and rapport is at the basis of every single thing we do. And I think as we all do introductions tonight and we talk about the work we do, we're going to find that theme. So, Lisa, I'm going to let you go next and tell us about the peer support.
Yeah, absolutely. So very similar to what Mindy was talking about, there are 10 peer support agencies within the state of New Hampshire. They have exactly the same footprint as the community mental health centers and the area agencies. So for developmental reasons, if you know your region number for your area agency, you know your region number for the peer support center and for the community mental health center. We're Region 5 down here in the Monadnock region, and ours is called Monadnock Peer Support. Peer support centers were formed in the 1970s as a result of anti-clinical advocacy. They do things that are very different from the community mental health centers, but they come alongside for supports for folks in a non-clinical way. You know, sometimes you just need to talk to somebody. You need to have someone that you can vent with. You need a peer. You need a place to go to feel supported. And so these are places where folks can come, even if they're not experiencing a clinical level of mental health challenge. They have groups. In my region, some of the groups that they have are kind of indicative of what other regions might have. So, addiction and recovery, isolation support, anxiety and depression, building boundaries. There's an autism support group. There's one for feelings of anger, and there's one for bipolar as well. And these groups meet and they're led by individuals who are not psychologists or psychiatrists, not prescribers, but just your peers of yours. And so when folks get together in this space, it's really good for sharing and it helps to lift you up and everyone else because you know you're not alone. Some of the other things besides groups that the peer support centers do throughout the state is they run warm lines that give you somebody to talk to after hours. You just dial the number and you have a talk with somebody. It's really simple. And you can talk about anything you want to. If you're just bored, you can pick up the phone and call the warm line. They have a respite, which is 6 nights and 7 days for somebody who is really in a pinch and there's some sort of a mental health crisis that's coming up. And they need some time of respite. You can go spend some nights over at your peer support agency. They have certain wait lists and vetting and things that they might do. But if you're really interested in staying at your peer support center and you need respite, talk to them. They have something called a step up, step down program. And that is 30 to 90 days of a stay in a setting that is really designed to prevent you from going to an inpatient mental health stay, which would be a step up, or to help you to reintegrate into the community after you've come out of a mental health stay, inpatient, or after you've come out of incarceration, or if you're just coming back from homelessness, then you could be in that step up, step down program and stabilize. That's what it's really for. So there are 4 step up, step down programs. Not every has them. Also, They have monthly education sessions. They have experts from the community come in to talk to people at the peer support center. Folks hang out, they have meals together. They sometimes go on trips to the grocery store or activities, monthly activities. And there is transportation to and from the center every single day. That is a requirement. They're state funded. So that is part of their contract with the state that they need to send a van out to pick people up every day who want to come to the peer support center. You get there, you stay, you do your thing, you participate in groups, you go out into the community and do other things while you're there. And then at the end of the day, you come back and you get transported back to your house. I think that it's important to note that families of people with intellectual disabilities sometimes have unique mental health challenges of their own. So for instance, that's how Angela and I met because we have kiddos with disabilities and we go to a group and we talk together. That particular group is not sponsored by the Peer Support Center, but that's the idea that we want to get folks together who really understand what it is that you're going through. If you were to look up your own peer support agency, you could go to the organization New Hampshire Mental Health Peer Alliance. That's a mouthful, but it's New Hampshire, mental health, and the Peer Alliance means the Alliance of the Peer Support Agencies. So NHMHPA, and there you can find resources like all kinds of alternative mental health resources on their page. It is a list of all of the peer alliance agencies, PSAs, that are in the region. And also that at the state level is the organization that tracks legislation and all kinds of activities happening at the state level that influence all of the PSAs. So the New Hampshire Mental Health Peer Alliance is a resource, but it's not an organization that provides any kind of real direct service. It's just a place to go to learn things and find resources.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Our peer support centers are phenomenal. Years ago, before they really have taken shape the way they are now, I was on the board for one of our local peer support centers, and it has been amazing to see their growth over the last several years. And it's an opportunity to really become part of your community and share what you envision for your community as well.
They're really very underutilized.
Yes,
I can't tell you how many people I know who experience anxiety and depression and would benefit from just talking to somebody, but you have to know that the resource is there before you can take advantage of it.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. Um, Amma,
Yeah. I will talk about what we do at the Parent Forge. So caregivers and parents of children with complex needs or intellectual disabilities or developmental disabilities are the most overlooked population. And so what we do at the Parent Forge is specifically for this population, right? And so we're creating a space where caregivers and parents feel seen and heard. So one of the things that we do is our listening circle. It's I don't call it a support group because it's not your typical support group because it's not just about venting, but there's a format it takes where you're walking away with at least one next best step or one action step or one insight for the next week before you meet again. And they're all weekly. Because one thing we realized was that a lot of support groups would meet maybe monthly, right? And then there's a big gap and it's hard. And so it's a weekly thing. And then we also have a YouTube channel which we are building. It's a huge resource that I would advise all of us to look at because it's not just talk, talk, talk. We're talking about evidence-based resources, so tools and resources. Because the whole idea is that a lot of us caregivers and parents are living in the limbic system. So we're in constant fight or flight mode, right? And a lot of times we don't realize how much that's draining us and getting us to that point of burnout. So a lot of the resources that we put out there is to give us tools that can help us get out of that limbic system, build that self-awareness, and then equip ourselves so we can try to engage the front part of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. And that's actually the best place to be for executive functioning and for making all the decisions that we have to make. So that's also a good resource. We also have workshops that we do. And then we are going to be launching a mentorship program soon, where it's like you're being mentored for a couple of weeks to give you your own personal coping toolbox. And we're talking a lot of evidence-based stuff. This is coaching and positive psychology. So emotional management stuff, mindset mastery stuff, how to reframe limiting beliefs, how to navigate emotions, tough emotions. So things like surfing the moment and opposite action, a lot of DBT tools. But we see ourselves as the first point of call so you don't get to the place where you need hospitalization. Because if we could meet you earlier on your journey, then you're being equipped with tools and resources that can help you navigate whatever challenges that you're going through in a way that doesn't get you to the point where you need a true mental health hospital or you need to get medication and stuff like that. So that's the good thing about mental health coaching because it serves as a good first aid, right? Even before you get to the point where you have psychosis or anything like that. So those are all the things that we do at the Parent Forge, and it's accessible. So it's not in person. Everything is online because we know that as caregivers, you cannot. Sometimes you want to go, but you have your kid and there's nobody to watch them. So everything is virtual, everything is online. So we're trying to make this very accessible for everybody. And one thing I tell people is I don't want to take money from any caregiver. So it's all free for you, so you come in, we can talk, you meet other people, we're building community. And the long-term goal is that eventually, hopefully, we can have some community health centers that focus just on the caregiver, nobody else, just caregivers, right? We have our own space, but at least we started with the virtual stuff and it's very accessible for everybody. So I'll say that's a little bit about what we do.
And Amma is, for those of you that are part of the community, Amma is just joining the leadership community, New Hampshire leadership community too. So we're really excited to have her as part of that group. Um, thank you so much, Amma. Um, Amma means it. She means reach out. She will get back to you real quick before your email probably hits send. She's wonderful and she's passionate and she has all of this background in education, but she has that lived experience too. And she really is absolutely, absolutely wonderful. So she's a wonderful resource to us. Um, I'd like to welcome Joanne Wentworth. Joanne is joining us as a resource regarding her yoga practice. So, Joanne, welcome to the group. Would you like to share a little bit with us about your work?
Yes, yes, I would.
Thank you for joining
Can
us.
you all hear me? Sheila Mulligan and I literally moved from my yoga studio to her lovely pop-up tent. So we're in the woods here in South Sutton. And it's enjoyable. So thank you.
We can hear you. You're doing great for being in a tent.
Oh, yay, great. Okay. So in listening to all of you, I certainly cannot represent yoga. I can only speak to you from my experience and encourage all of you to reach out. I have a list of resources to reach out to the yoga community because they're all over the place. I just checked today and there are, according to yogaalliance.com, there are 36.7 million practitioners in this country. So it's all over the place. So I strongly encourage you to reach out. But just to let you know, I was actually blessed with a 35-year employment as a medical professional. And I'm aging myself, but in 2007, I started my journey into yoga, meditation, and energy healing. And so here I am today, retired and giving to others. So yoga, as I'm sure you know, is the blending of mind, body, and breath work. And when we're tense, it's first our breathing that's affected. We're not getting this full, complete exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. I think the best way to visualize a true good amount of breath work is to look at a baby or a puppy, when they're just, and you can see that belly rise and collapse. That is a true breath. And, as we all know, as time goes on and life goes on, we have these stress, toxins, medical conditions, many other influencers come in, and we end up with this shallow breathing. So I'd like to invite you all to do just a brief exercise with me. So if you could just put one hand on your belly and sit comfortably, and then one hand on your upper chest area, and then just breathe. Just breathe as you normally do. No big deep breaths. No practice, nothing. Just breathe as you normally do. And retain that image and just hang on to that feeling of your own breath work. So in yoga, the belief is that any obstacle, no matter what that is, can be overcome through the blending of mind, body, and breath. And so I thought today I'd speak to and offer some tools to go to when anyone is in need. So I don't know, living around here in South Sutton where we do, but I moved here 5 years ago and we actually call it South Nutton. There's like nothing here but lots of farms. So it gave me this visual of much like a farmer who needs to take down a beaver dam needed most, having tools to rescue in our time of need, to nurture your body, your mind, and your breath. So with proper breath work, you now have your very own self to reach to, especially when those stress obstacles appear in your day-to-day life. So I'd like to do another exercise, if you will. Just take a moment and make yourselves really, really comfortable in your chair. And if your feet are not firmly planted on the floor, or you can be sitting in lotus position, that's fine. But if you're in a chair and your feet are not touching the floor, it's always helpful to raise your feet up on books or yoga blocks or pillows. That releases your low back and your hips. So when you're sitting in a chair and your feet aren't touching the floor, it's pulling on your low back, which is not a relaxed state. So sit comfortably. You can take shoes off if you like. um, books or pillows or something supporting your feet. If you're not comfortable with that, that's wonderful. And then on our abdomen. So get yourself comfortable. Hands are on your abdomen. And using a 4-7-8 breath, meaning a nose breath into the count of 4, and then hold and rest that breath to the count of 7. And then finally exhale the breath through the mouth audibly, slowly, completely, while mentally counting from 8 to 1. So and let's try it again. 4. Rest and hold. And breathe out through your mouth. Allow your face, jaw, and shoulders to release. And if you like, you can repeat this a few more times as I just go on. So breath is like a massage from within. Breath increases circulation and helps our bodies to relax. And slow, deep breaths can even direct and be directed to a specific body part to relieve pain. So now just take one quick moment to compare that first exercise, that of your normal breath, to that of this controlled yogic breath. You may or may not have seen a difference there. Sometimes it takes a while to train yourself to start doing that breathing, but 4, 7, 8. So many of the terms of the yoga are over 5,000 years old. Sanskrit was the very first language in one of the earliest writings. That was my training in yoga, was in full Sanskrit. It's interesting. So prana vayu.
Did Joanne
Translates to pra, P-R-A, which is before, and na, to breathe. And then vayu means wind, is that which nourishes.
Joanne, I hate to interrupt you. I think you're providing us some wonderful content. Unfortunately, your feed is cutting in and out, making it hard for us to get everything that you're sharing with us. Yeah. Okay. Um, Joanne, thank you so much. I apologize that the connection seems a a bit off. But if you'd like to, thank you so much. But if you'd like to share your, we're actually going to have everybody share their resources, and their information. What I will do is I'm going to collect email addresses from everybody here, and then I will go ahead and collect the contact information and resources that are shared here tonight. And then I will send an email so you don't have to take notes tonight. Just be present, and I will go ahead and I will send that out. Joanne's sharing a visual.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where I am here. Can you see that? We have a strange connection here. Can you see that? It should be like two diagrams of a person sitting in lotus pose with arrows. So this one, you see the arrows going beyond the body. So this is what happens with prana when there isn't proper breath work. So it's just, they actually in yoga, they call this pranic leaking. And then the other diagram here is of the peaceful, healthy person. The prana is contained, and the prana is contained due to that proper pranic breathing. So it's just a little visual for you as a guide. And thank you, Sheila, so very much. So now, to end, I just would like to have a final offering of a brief guided meditation, if you like. And so once again, if you could just make yourself very comfortable in your chairs. Again, sitting in lotus pose is fine. Remove your shoes, bring your feet up so that your hips aren't being pulled on. Sit nice and comfortably in your chair. And actually, this is something that you can do in a snap, maybe just to relieve stress on yourselves, counseling other people, any situation, just take a moment, change your position and get a little comfortable. So this is a brief guided meditation. And if anyone is exploring taking on a meditative practice, I would suggest guided meditation at first, and I have lots of resources. Guided meditation you could probably find anywhere, but you don't want to go to just any guided meditation. So I do have some resources later. But anyway, so bring yourself nice and comfortable, and you need do nothing but just sit and be comfortable. Again, if you'd like to close your eyes, that's fine. If you're not comfortable completely closing your eyes, you can just rest down your eyes, like look down your nose. And then take a few of those deep breaths that we talked about, that 4, counting to 4, 7, and then breath out for 8. So this meditation is called the Ocean of Love Experience. Close your eyes, get comfortable. And there will be a place when I stop my verbal guidance, and then you just continue with whatever experience you're having. So imagine yourself on a beautiful, warm, sunny day. And you decide to take a walk in the woods, down a beautiful path. The colors are so brilliant. The sun is shining down. As you breathe into yourself, you're breathing in the life energy of the forest. And with each step that you take, you feel the energy of the earth flowing up through the bottoms of your feet. As you walk along slowly and appreciating each moment, notice up ahead it's getting brighter, and you're coming to the edge of the forest. As you walk out of the forest, you notice that the path is becoming sandy under your feet, and you can hear the sound of the ocean. Walking out onto the beach, the ocean is before you. Take time here to synchronize your breathing with the rhythm of the waves coming onto and leaving the shore. And as you walk onto the beach with the ocean before you, notice a log that has washed up onto the beach, creating a nice place to sit. It allows you to lean back and rest against the log. This place you have come upon, this is not an ordinary place. This place is guided by a beautiful light, the ocean of love. Listen to the sound of your breathing and imagine now it is the sound of the waves washing up onto the beach and then flowing back into the ocean. The ocean of love with its light is guiding you. Follow its guidance.
Joanne, thank you so much. I'm sorry to jump in. We do
No, it's fine.
we I appreciate your guiding us through these activities. Um, I want to introduce Angela, because Angela, you had some resources that you were going to share as well, and then Emmanuel is actually going to jump in as well and share with us just a bit about advocacy as a form of mental health as well. So, Joanne, thank you so much for those wonderful activities. Angela, I would love to tap into you because you were going to talk about some narrative work.
Yes. So I can only speak from the perspective of a person who does this. I had asked my provider to be part of this, but she was unable to attend. She had some family things happening. However, she sent me some information to share with you all. So because I don't know it all, like I'm going to read this to you. So narrative medicine focuses on the healing power of storytelling through creating and sharing personal narratives. What happens is writing actually supports the well-being and by offering a safe place for people to express their feelings, and like express the things that are difficult to say out loud. It helps you to process things like fear, anxiety, shame, um, while also allowing you to hold on to the moments of hope and strength. In a time when so much feels out of control, writing gives you a sense of agency and a power to tell your own story. It fosters connection, eases anxiety, and brings comfort through reflection, helping you feel seen, heard, and understood. That is what my person sent to me. But what I want to share with you is that this is something that works well for me specifically. And I'm coming to you as a mom that has a lot of feelings about a lot of things. Um, Traditional therapy doesn't work for me. I have tried it. I have tried all kinds of different things. I have tried talking to people. I have tried talking to friends. None of that works for me. So if you're a person like me that talking does not work, narrative medicine is fantastic. What I have found is that I can tap into a part of me that I don't feel judged, and it allows me to actually process everything that I'm feeling and thinking. And then I'm able to share it. Then I am able to share with my husband or my friends exactly what I'm thinking and feeling because I had time to focus on it and process it all. I just wanted to be able to share that resource with you because it is truly an out of the box way to think. I never knew it existed until this year, and I'm ever so grateful for this opportunity to utilize narrative medicine. Um, I will put in the chat the woman that I utilize. She's fantastic. Right now, she takes on specific groups, but she's looking to branch out a little bit more as the new year approaches. Usually, she runs courses that are done by a series. So, like the series I'm part of is is for 5 months, and you do it once a month, and it's an hour long. And I'll give you an idea of how it works if you would like. Julie, is that okay? I'll like tell people. Okay. So kind of how it works from my perspective is the instructor will give you either an image that's like a statue or a structure, or she will give you a poem, and you have a certain amount of time to read it and take it in, or look at it and take it in, and then you break it down and you discuss it. Um, and you pick apart what stood out to you. And then after you've done that, she will give you a few more minutes to process. And then what happens is she will give you a writing prompt. And in that writing prompt, I'm so sorry. In that writing prompt, she will give you a topic. And then she puts a timer on and has you write about it. So I will be very vulnerable with you, and I will tell you, like, I am dealing with anticipatory grief. So it's really hard for me to talk about in, like, to the average person, just talking back and forth to people. But she is really awesome about just giving me a prompt. She gives me 5 minutes to write, and it's usually a group of us, and we have a shared experience, and then we present it to each other. And it is never with judgment. It is always very heartfelt. And it is amazing to hear what other people say just from the same exact prompt. So if any of you could ever utilize that, I will put it in the chat. She does everything virtual. So it's a fantastic resource, especially because there's not a lot of it in New Hampshire, but she is willing to do it virtual. And Julie, I did ask her if she would be willing to do something with us, the task force. And so if anybody's interested, let Julie know, because she said that she'd be willing to do a session.
Yes, that would be fantastic. And I think that's something that has been one of our best takeaways from these groups is to figure out what people are looking for. So we're going to be hosting some parent and caregiver groups, opportunities for people to join together virtually more often. We got that from our last group, but also here, how can we get these resources out to the community in different ways? So I love that. That's fantastic. So yes, please certainly let us know. Awesome. Angela, thank you so much. And I really am enjoying hearing about all the different ways we can take care of our mental health and encourage others to take care of their mental health. And it's different for every single person. Before we start talking about advocacy, and then we want to get to some just general chatting in questions and answers um, and conversation. But Lisa, you had a comment that you wanted to make sure that for the recording, we get just a little bit more information on peer support.
Yeah, sure thing. I did not mention that the peer support agencies are completely free. There's no commitment. You don't have to register for any of the groups to show up. You can just come as you are and be there. And also, you don't have to share any information that you don't want to. We know folks who are perfectly happy to tell you what their name is and their story, but they don't want to tell you their date of birth, their telephone number, or their address. And at the peer support center, you don't have to give any of that stuff. So if that was a barrier for someone, I just want them to feel free to go to the peer support center. It's come and go as you please. None of those barriers exist.
Wonderful. Sounds like it's worth checking out. Thank you, Lisa. Um, Emmanuel, I'm going to put you on the spot because you're way too quiet over there in Delaware. So, Emmanuel, for those of you that have not had the pleasure of meeting Emmanuel yet, I met Emmanuel as we were bringing him in to share about a documentary he helped put together in Delaware called Everything to Somebody. Is that correct? Did I get that right? All right. Um, and we wanted to do a screening of the documentary. And Emmanuel and I became fast friends because we spoke the same language, and sometimes you just hear somebody take a breath and you know that those are your people, right? Those are the people that get it. And there are a lot of people like that on this screen tonight, which is why it makes opportunities to come together like this so powerful. Um, so I knew I could tap into Emmanuel when he mentioned I called him on my way home tonight. We do that fairly often, usually ride to work, ride home from work. Hey buddy, what are you doing? Um, and he mentioned he was going to join, and I said, can you talk about advocacy as a form of mental health? So do you mind giving us just a couple of minutes, Emmanuel, and then we'll jump into general discussion, but would you mind wrapping us up with how advocacy can either help with mental health or taking a break from advocacy can help with mental health? One way or the other, right?
Two oxymorons. But you will typically never get advocacy and mental health in the same sentence. But when you have doing this as long as I have, you find a way. You find a way to take those breaks. But before I jump into that, I want to say thank you to everyone who have shared resources and also sharing personal connections to those resources. Many times as professionals and parents and caregivers, we sometimes have been conditioned to not be vulnerable. But vulnerability is exactly what this country needs, no matter where you are, whether you are in New Hampshire or Delaware, it doesn't matter. This country is in need of vulnerability, so I wanted to say thank you for being so vulnerable. When we talk about advocacy and mental health, even to tie it all back in to some of the resources that was shared, we heard, peer to peer, we heard resources that are free, we heard you can call and talk about anything. Who doesn't love to call and talk about anything? So to have things like that, especially when it comes to advocacy, and a lot of people don't realize it, but those groups that come together to share resources and guidance and personal connect, that is a form of advocacy. We have been conditioned to believe when we talk about advocacy, that must be legislation. That must be going to Capitol Hill, screaming and yelling at legislators to get them to do something. Advocacy is more deep rooted than that. There's a word called grassroots. Grassroots really means connection to your neighbors, to your friends. So moments like this is really advocacy. But what happens when you are burning at both ends of the candle? How do you take a break to say, listen, this work is important, but how do I take a break? How do I take a break and still ensure that things are moving? Well, I got news for you. What makes this work so vital for me and so many others is that we have learned that when we take a break, that we get re-energized, that we find new ways. Somebody said it earlier. I think it was the last person that spoke said, really finding services outside the box. Julie will tell you I'm a fan of thinking outside the box, but I'm a really big fan of throwing the box away. So how do we get rid of that box of traditional advocacy? And so as someone who has had the pleasure of serving at the pleasure of the last president, Mr. Joe Biden, serving on that committee. When I first went in, I was like, yeah, let's go. I'm going to. I'm gonna make them do things. Things are gonna happen. Uh, and when I met my first uh resistance, I said, "Oh my gosh, why am I here? I'm speaking the language. I'm telling people what needs to happen, and nobody is listening." And I realized that part of my journey, part of that mental health check-in, because see, as providers and caregivers and people with disabilities, sometimes we forget to check in on ourselves. We check in on everybody else. We hold that mirror up. We put it on other people, but we forget to have that reflection mirror to take a break. So, someone said to me one day, "You'll be a lot stronger if you take a break." And I said, "What? What do you mean? If I take a break, things are gonna fall apart. If I take a break and I go away and I, you know, do what I want to do, I may come back to a disaster." And they said something I'll never forget. They said, "If the disaster comes and you're not strong enough for it, the disaster will be that much bigger." So I encourage all of you, even in your journey, even in taking care of your loved one, which is also advocacy, even though sometimes we feel like caregiving is isolated and you may have things that you don't share, people are watching, even in their silence. Some people don't know what to, what to say, how to say it, so they say nothing. And then sometimes as caregivers and people with disabilities, we don't need you to say anything. We need you to let us have our moments, not moment, but moments. Have all our moments, all our frustrations, and just because I say something today doesn't mean I'll mean it tomorrow. So let me get it all out. But the last thing I'll say to wrap up, do not forget to dial your own number. And what I mean by that is sometimes, when people ask you what your cell phone number is, because it's not, something you call, you say, "Well, let me look at my phone." We got to start to remember to dial our own number because we truly only know how we truly feel. And I love the idea of untraditional uh ways of therapy and um looking at images and poetry. Those things are so vital to moving things forward and to all of my warriors, because everybody's a warrior on here. The last piece of advice I would give you, it's okay. It's okay to bear with me. It's okay to sometimes turn your light off because your light can illuminate the world if it tends to burn out when you can no longer control it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Emmanuel. This is what happens when I put you on the spot, huh? You just pop out with stuff like that?
You know, I'm always ready.
I know.
Never on the spot.
Is You're wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hey, Owen, can I put you on the spot now, my friend? Can
Just
you
give
share
me a
with
rough,
can you share with us
just
what you just put in the chat? Because I want to hear it from your voice.
oh
It's
yes,
important.
as some family members like to say, uh, take your break or your break will take you. As someone who tend to like to hyperfocus, it was something that like I had lose track of time so many times, but I feel like it's applicable with mental health and physical stamina and stuff like that. That's something I sort of share with my coworkers one of the jobs I work at is at a dining hall, which is one of like the big giant dining halls that serves like uh, over 1,000 people per meal. And we only have like we should be having 10 people, but usually they only have 5 people at most in there. So a lot of times the first people who come in, you're reminding them, we're never gonna catch up. So just do what you can and pace yourself, cause uh, you gotta take your breaks when you can get them. And so I think like there's a lot that we have to be like going back to uh, Advocate New Hampshire. The one of the big things that was one of our projects was doing a action group where you had community projects that you were assigned, and you had to come up with a project that was an actionable physical result from it. And so much of the time you have to, that's a job for compromise, because you're not going to accomplish everything you put on that docket initially, because you're just going to have to shrink it and shrink it. And in my case, we lost all but me and one other person in our group, so we had to shrink it way down from what we had initially started with. So like that's something that you have to sort of take into account too. Is that sort of what you were getting at?
I was getting at whatever you were going to throw out there because whatever you put in the chat was so good that it needed to come from your voice, and you just
Well,
did better than you put in the
it's
chat. So
somebody,
thank you.
it originally came from someone we mutually know, so
I would imagine somebody we both think is pretty cool, I would think. Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Owen. So we have shared so many wonderful resources. This is the power of community. Our community has so much more to share. We have just a few minutes, and I don't want to have us run over. Everybody is taking time away from their evening and their family, and I appreciate you all being here. Before we wrap up, I want to give the opportunity for two things. One is to share any resources that came to your mind that we have not yet shared. Anything that you may have on your mind or that you may utilize or know about that can impact mental health and help us with our mental health journeys that we should have on our radar. The other is if you have any questions for those that are here on the screen tonight, if you have any resources that you'd like to share out loud, please feel free to do that. If you'd like to put them in the chat, again, I'm going to compile all the information and we'll send those out. If you could also, before you log off, please just put your email in the chat. I will make sure that I make it pretty and I will get all of the information out to you. Okay.
I
So I
have
will
one,
download the chat
Julie.
as well.
I have one, Julie. It's something that my former case manager recommended, but I haven't actually done because my mom was an alcoholic. Children of alcoholics like Al-Anon or something along those lines. That's a 12-step program, and that's free. And that's my favorite price, as everybody knows. And the personal trainer, he was wondering what In Shape was. That's what I was referring to in the mental health center. They call it In Shape. And I see Dave, and I've seen him for over a year. But I'm going to be seeing Riley because they hired two females. And I said I want a female. So Riley is going to be, and I do yoga at Vibe Yoga. I used to do it Banyan Tree Yoga. I don't like them because I didn't like their location. But I had to sue the state so that they would pay for it under my DD waiver. So I have an unlimited class pass at Vibe Yoga, so I can go to 100 classes a month if they had them, which they don't. Or I could go to like one class a month, whatever I want. So that's what I do
Wonderful.
through the mental health center is, and I'm work like I said in the beginning, I'm working on getting a functional support specialist to work on things that I'm working on with my therapist outside of therapy with my depression and my anxiety because I have a direct support professional which doesn't work on your mental health because that's not what they do. That would be duplication of services. So yeah, that's what I do.
So it sounds like, Kelly, one of the things that is pretty important is making sure to advocate for mental health needs. And I think
Yeah,
that
we actually just got back from Washington, D.C., and I advocated for mental health and IDD. I met Maggie Hassan in her office in
wonderful.
Washington, D.C.
Wonderful. She was right here in Dover today. So meeting with some of
Was she?
she
Oh, well, I didn't get to see Maggie Goodlander because they wanted me to stay an extra day because she wasn't available. But guess where she has her office?
Don
Right,
Leonard.
right inside the
Oh, wonderful. Well, so I think so that's one of the keys is to advocate for your needs. So as you're calling places, you're asking for resources, you are asking for information. Certainly if you have any questions about getting your needs met, don't hesitate to follow back up with the mental health task force. This is a great forum to come back to. We meet the first Thursday of every month from 6 o'clock to 7 p.m. And the link is available on the Able New Hampshire website, or through Able New Hampshire. But this is a great forum to bring back. So if you have questions about accessing services or want to lean on the group to kind of problem solve, know about resources, this is a great place to come. Also, if you want to be part of the problem solving and part of the solution, this is the group that you want to be part of because these are some movers and shakers to help increase access here in the state and ideally beyond. Beth, I don't want to forget about you.
I just wanted to check in that New Hampshire Family Voices has a resource list on their website, and that does include mental health resources.
Wonderful. That's a fantastic resource. Perfect. Wonderful. And Kelly also mentioned about um, developmental services being a bit separate than mental health services. Those are things that we can, again, work on advocacy around, right? So that is something that the Mental Health Task Force is working on to decrease silos of care and help the community to work on some advocacy efforts to make sure that we're really focusing our advocacy on whole person and making sure that people are feeling heard and getting their needs met without silos. So I do want to just recognize that absolutely we hear Kelly, everybody has unique experiences and we won't dive in necessarily to individual experiences tonight, especially where we want to be respectful of individuality and privacy, especially with the recording. But knowing that the Mental Health Task Force is a great place to come to explore all types of advocacy efforts to get your whole person needs met within the state. Owen.
Yeah, I had an aha moment when you were talking about Medicaid and all that, because I think for me it's something that I have a coach sort of that is mental health informed, that is for my disability. And so I think, but they can't take Granite State Advantage, Medicaid sort of stuff. And so I think making sure that we are aware of that case, but they have allowed me to have a sliding scale for some of the pay. So I think that that is an advocacy piece that people should remember to ask if you're asking for mental health services. Make sure to ask the question if that's a possibility, because sometimes, especially independent uh, places, can sometimes have more wiggle room with prices in some ways, I think.
That is a phenomenal suggestion. And this is great where we can continue to have these discussions, give tips and tricks, right? Figure out what's worked in some areas and things that other people may just not have tried because we didn't think about them, or maybe we have tried them and it hasn't worked. no harm in trying again. So thanks for that reminder, Owen. Are there any questions from the group for each other before we wrap up and say goodnight? I just want to give the opportunity for everybody to connect.
Hey Julie, I did put my email in the chat, but feel free to share my email address with anyone. Anyone, service providers,
Thank you.
individuals with disabilities, doesn't matter. As Jolie can tell you, I do an array of different things. And any ally is a good ally when you are moving towards the right direction. So feel free to share my contact and social media platforms with anyone to connect.
Absolutely. And Emmanuel will not toot his own horn, but I will share with you before the end of this that Emmanuel is hosting a pretty spectacular event in Delaware where he hosted Thanksgiving dinner for members of his community who would otherwise be unable to have a Thanksgiving dinner. So you may see me sharing some of that information. But Emmanuel, what year are you on? You've done this for a while.
This is year 6, and that is only because of the pandemic. The pandemic came and paused everything, but this is year 6, and it started in a small room for individuals with disabilities and their families, and it grew into a big community event to the point the governor, the mayor of certain areas support these efforts. And we do it to decrease social isolation for individuals with disabilities, especially around the holidays. There is a thing called holiday blues. So we try to combat that with this social event. It is more than a Thanksgiving dinner. It is actually a community gathering to the point that people come for the food, but they really come for the social connection and entertainment and live DJ, you name it, we got it. This year we got princesses dressed up in all Disney characters that are princesses. And to be culturally aware, we have every single princess that is available for people to enjoy. So thank you, Julie. I didn't know you was gonna do that, but thank you
You're a
for
good example of what we should be striving for here in our community. So if you can do it in Delaware, then you're setting the bar high for us here in New Hampshire. So thank you for that, Emmanuel. Well, everyone, have a wonderful night. Don't forget to pop your email in the chat so I can get you these great resources. And for everybody that participated tonight, know that you are appreciated and we look forward to seeing you soon. Don't forget, you can join us at our mental health task force next Thursday at 6 p.m. if you'd like to join. Have a great night, everyone.